problems associated with the object-oriented features in testing the object-oriented software. Now let's see the object states and how we can do it. So object states, objects are, they store data permanently and also they have significant states, isn't it? Object-oriented program you have already known. So these different objects, they store data permanently and also they have significant states. Example I have already told you last class. Account is an object. Its possible states are new or create, initial state, working state, idle state, dead state, and so on. These are the different of the states of the object account. The behavior of the object is usually different in different states, isn't it? You take any object, it will behave differently in different states. You take this working object, working state of this account object, and at that state you can make any number of withdrawals or deposits. But in ideal state, you cannot make any deposit or any withdrawal. In initial state, you can only deposit the initial amount, but you cannot withdraw like this. So in dead state, you cannot make any deposit, you cannot make any withdrawal. So the behavior of an object or the behavior of an object is usually different in different states. Hence, the object to be tested at all its possible states. You cannot say that I have tested my account object in the working state. No, there are other possible states such as initial, idle, dead. So that's why you have to test the object at all its possible states. Okay. All state transition functions also needs to be tested thoroughly. You have already known UML diagrams. The state chart diagram you might have already known. I have also discussed state table based testing where I was using a FSM similar to state chart diagram. All state transition functions also need so all state transition functions. How many state transition functions may be there in a state transition diagram or finite state machine or state chart diagram? All state transition functions, they also need to be tested thoroughly. There should be no extra transitions or extra states other than those defined in the state model. So in your state chart diagram, how many states are defined? Only those many things should be tested. There should be no extra transitions or extra states other than those are defined in the state model. You have to test only those many transitions or those many states. Now let's see why the traditional testing techniques, they cannot be directly applied to testing of object-oriented programs. Why they are considered as unsatisfactory for testing of object-oriented programs? You know, in procedural programs, the procedures are the basic units of testing, whereas in object-oriented programs, I have told methods are not the basic unit of testing. What are the basic units of testing? In case of object-oriented programs, the objects are the basic units of testing. Next difficulty. So I cannot use directly the traditional technique for testing of object-oriented programs. Next is, we have already told that the different coverages like statement coverage, branch coverage, condition coverage, etc. we have seen earlier. So statement coverage based testing is not meaningful at all for testing object-oriented programs. Why? Statement coverage is very much applicable for testing procedure-oriented programs. But why not object-oriented programs? Please take the example of the inheritance I was just saying. From base class A, B is derived. From base class B, C is derived. In this derived class C, only one statement, printf something. So shall I only execute that if I have designed a test case to test that print statement, to cover that print statement, then shall I tell that my coverage is 100%? No. Why? Because C has also inherited several features, several methods from A and B. They need to be retested. So here, just if you will use statement coverage, and if I write down a test case to just test that print statement coverage is not 100%. So the statement coverage, it becomes meaningless in case of testing of object-oriented programs due to the presence of inheritance. Okay, so the traditional testing technique, they cannot be directly applied to testing of object-oriented software. So statement coverage testing is not very much meaningful for testing object programs. The inherited methods, they have to be retested again in the derived class. So statement coverage is not the appropriate coverage for testing object-oriented programs. Okay, because the inherited methods, they have to be retested in the derived class. In fact, all the different object-oriented features that just recently you have seen, such as the inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, dynamic binding, etc., they require different test cases to be designed compared to traditional testing. So all those object-oriented features, they require different test cases. They have to be designed in comparison to traditional testing. In fact, the different object-oriented features require different test cases to be designed compared to traditional testing. These object-oriented features, they are very much explicit in design models, and it is usually difficult to extract from an analysis of the source code, isn't it? These object-oriented features, where do you represent? Normally, all the object-oriented features, normally they are represented in design models. That's why you have read UML diagrams. UML diagram is a design model. So normally, all the object-oriented features, normally they are explicit, they are represented in design models such as UML diagrams, and it is quite difficult to extract these object-oriented features from an analysis of the source code. These object-oriented features, they are very much explicit in design models, and it is usually difficult to extract from an analysis of the source code. Hence, the test cases are designed based on the design model. So, for object-oriented testing, normally test cases are designed from where? From the design documents or the design diagrams, such as UML diagrams. So, normally UML diagrams are used for testing object-oriented software. If time will permit, I will take one or two examples of how, or one or more example for testing object-oriented software based on the design document such as UML diagrams. Hence, test cases are designed based on the design model. So this approach is considered to be somewhat intermediate between white box testing and black box testing. Why? Because in white box testing, where we design the test cases? From the code. And in black box testing, we design the test cases from the analysis document, that is the SRS document. But in this testing of object-oriented program, we have to design the test cases from the design documents. And designing is coming where? In between analysis and coding, isn't it? First analysis, then design, then coding. So for testing object-oriented programs, we have to design the test cases from the design documents such as UML diagrams. Since this designing test cases from SRS document or analysis document is known as black box testing. Designing test cases from source code is known as white box testing. So anything else between black and white is we call it as gray. So since design documents are lying in between SRS document and coding, and here test cases are designed from the design documents such as UML diagrams. So that's why this approach is known as gray box approach. Okay. So since designing test cases from SRS document is known as black box testing, designing test cases from source code is known as white box testing. So any technique where we can design test cases from the design documents or UML diagrams, which lie in between the source code and this analysis document, this SRS document, since it is lying in between this and they correspond to white box and black box testing. So designing test cases from these design diagrams such as UML diagrams are known as gray box approach. Okay, this is very much important for testing object-oriented programs. So this approach is considered to be intermediate between white box and black box approaches, and this is called as gray box approach, which is very much important for testing object-oriented programs. This approach is also known as model-based approach, model-based testing. Okay, this gray box approach or designing test cases for object-oriented programs is also known as model-based approach or model-based testing. In literature, you will find as MBT, model-based testing. So, model-based testing is used for generating test cases for object-oriented programs. You have to use normally UML diagrams to generate the test cases for the object-oriented programs. Now, in fact, all the UML diagrams, they can be used to design different kinds of test cases. Now, can anybody say how many UML diagrams you know? In UML 1.0, there are 9 UML diagrams, isn't it? And in UML 2.x, there are 5 new diagrams are there. So there are 14 UML diagrams in UML 2.x. All those UML diagrams can be used to generate test cases for object-oriented software. Very much important. Please try to learn these things. Then comes your test process strategy. So what do you mean by test process strategy? In test process strategy, we have to design a strategy. We have to design a procedure to construct the test process. So test process strategy means you have to develop a procedure or a strategy or a technique to design the test cases. Test process strategy. The object-oriented development tends towards shorter incremental cycles. How do you mean by shorter incremental cycles? If you see the classical waterfall model, what you are doing? First, you are doing the requirement specification, then analysis, then design, then coding, testing. The cycle is very large. It is lengthy. But object-oriented development tends towards shorter incremental cycles. The incremental cycles are short. They are very small. Why? Because if it will be shorter, then you can do easily the modifications. So in object-oriented software development, the development is characterized as the following: design a little, code a little, and test a little. Don't like waterfall model. First complete all the requirement specification for the whole software, then design the develop the data dictionary, the UML diagrams. Okay, develop the design documents for the whole software, then code for the whole software, then test for the whole software. Then it will be difficult where the errors are there, and if you want to do any modification, very much difficult. So in object-oriented development, what people do, they design a very little portion. Then they code that little portion, very few lines, maybe 15, 20, 50 lines or so. Then you test that little. Then they take up another module, design it, code it. So in that way, modification will be easier. Where the errors will lie, that will be easier. So this debugging time will be easier. So nowadays people, they are motivated towards these shorter incremental cycles, not like the classical waterfall model where you have to develop the SRS document for the whole software, design, you have to develop the design document for the whole software, you have to develop the code for the whole software, you have to design the test care for the whole software. No, nowadays people are migrating from that larger incremental cycles to shorter incremental cycles. People are designing a little bit, maybe one module, then they are coding a little bit for that same one module, then they are testing that same module. So this principle is known as shorter incremental cycle, and in short we can say that design a little, code a little, and test a little. So in object-oriented software development, the development is characterized as follows: design a little, code a little, and test a little. The distance between object-oriented specification and implementation, therefore, it is typically very small compared to conventional systems. In conventional systems, traditional systems, the design between the specification and implementation is very large, because you are specifying for the whole software, you are designing for the whole software, you are coding or you are implementing for the whole software. But here you are designing a little, coding a little, and testing a little. Hence the distance between object-oriented specification and implementation, therefore it is typically very small compared to the conventional systems. The gap between white box and black box testing is diminished White box testing means designing test cases from the code. Black box testing means designing test cases from the SRS document. The gap between white box and black box test is diminished. Therefore, lower the importance of code-based testing. Nowadays, very few people are doing this code-based testing. In this case, as we have already discussed, neither will go for designing test cases from the SRS document or from this code. Rather, people are using what models, the UML diagrams, the data flow diagrams. People are using different models of the software to designing test cases. Currently, model-based testing has assumed much more importance. This model-based testing is also known as gray box testing that we have already seen. Um, but still, the conventional white box testing can be used for testing the individual methods. When you are trying to test the individual methods, you can use the traditional white box testing techniques such as statement coverage, branch coverage, etc. You can use for testing the individual methods. So the conventional white box testing methods can still be used for testing the individual methods. So next is testing based on the UML models. So how we can perform testing based on the UML models. So I think that we will continue in the next class. There are several UML models. Each UML model can be used for testing object-oriented software. So this how to test using different UML models, that we'll discuss in the next class. Now, any doubt, please?